Hey, I'm Marshall, and this is my 1NC for the school vouchers app. So I'm going to should probably have a timer. I can just whatever. All right. So everybody ready? Yeah, this is a video. Okay. Okay. First, judge for a quick roadmap. I'm going to be going through a topicality response and then 3 DAs. So first we're going to start out with negative topicality on substantially. So one definition, revenue and customs guidance. Substantial means more than 20%. Two, violation. The affirmative team must increase by at least 20%. The affirmative team only increases by 10%. They're doing this each year, Judge. They said in their case that they're increasing by $4 billion each year, and they didn't say how they were going to renew it, so we can only assume that they're increasing by $4 billion because they didn't explain how they were going to get that money in their plan. So, okay, so 3 standards. 1, bright line. We, the negative team, create a clear definition of what is and what is not the boundaries of the resolution. These definitions should be preferred because they show a clear interpretation of the resolution. 2, limits. The resolution creates limits of the affirmative team can and cannot do. If you look to the affirmative team's plan, they are not increasing by at least 20%, which is not within the limits of the resolution. 4, voters. 1, education. The purpose of debate is to promote education, but this becomes difficult when the affirmative does not stay within the resolution. 2, stock issues. Since topicality is one of the 5 stock issues, it should be taken into account in today's debate. 3, a priori. Topicality governs debate because it enforces the resolution. It limits what the affirmative can do and is therefore the first thing we should look to when debating, as I have by presenting this attack in the 1C. This is also the first thing you should look to when judging this round. So just quickly to sum that topicality up is saying they have to increase by at least 20%, and since the DOE budget is currently, I don't remember exactly what it is, like 100 billion or something, and since they're only increasing by 4 billion, that's only 10%, and it doesn't meet our requirements for the substantially response. So next, my first DA is going to be my fraud DA. So basically what this DA is saying is that they're going to create a whole new program, this voucher program, without any oversight. They didn't list that in their plan that they're going to put money towards oversight, so this is going to lead to money being wasted, essentially. So observation 1, uniqueness. DOE officials admits weaknesses in current oversight program from TIE of 2015. Effective monitoring and oversight are essential for ensuring that grantees meet grant requirements and achieve program goals and objectives. The department's early learning, elementary, and secondary education programs annually serve nearly 16,900 public school districts and 50 million students attending more than 98,000 public schools and 28,000 private schools. OIG work has identified a number of weaknesses in grantee oversight and monitoring. These involve local education agency fiscal control issues, state education agency control issues, fraud perpetrated by LEA and charter school officials, and internal control weaknesses in the department's oversight process. So our link is actually going to be that they are adding the DOE's responsibilities, and they have no funding for additional oversight or for fraud control. So that's going to take us to observation 3, impact. Federal programs without oversight waste billions of dollars, from Edwards and DeHaven of 2009. In sum, fraud and abuse is a serious shortcoming of many federal programs. It is appalling that $100 billion a year, or perhaps much more, benefits are misappropriated by people not entitled to them. Federal subsidies for industries such as healthcare and education ought to be cut because private markets can usually perform these activities better than governments. But the endemic fraud and abuse experienced by many government programs provides an additional reason to pursue major cuts in the federal budget. So to just sum up that DA real quick, since the affirmative team does not include in their plan extra money for oversight or for fraud, we can see that they're not going to be able to prevent that at all, and we see the direct link to our DA. So second, we're going to go to my education reform DA. So basically what this DA is going to say is that for many years education has been switching between federal and state control, and since we're giving it back to the federal government, we're giving the government control over education. This is going to piss people off, and it's going to cause more tension in the United States. So, observation one, uniqueness. The ESSA gives power to the states. Andy Smerrick, 2017. Yes, the Every Student Succeeds Act and choice programs aim to significantly decentralize the authority, but that is by no means an education reform retreat. Our history has shown repeatedly that non-federal civil society reforms can take off in scale, and this reflects a coherent vision of policymaking. America's enormous diversity with the intractability of our challenges require a multitude of solutions crafted and owned by local communities, an approach inhibited by a federal single right answer thinking. Observation 2, link. The affirmative team calls for more federal government regulation of K-12 schooling. So since they're giving it back to the DOE, we can see that the federal government's actually going to have control over education now. Observation 3, Brink. The parents are sick of federal government intervention, from HighLeg of 2016. A revolt involving hundreds of thousands of Americans against the federal and state government has been brewing over the past couple of years. What caused this grassroots revolt? Parents and students have had enough of high-stakes testing required by federal law and implemented by the states have chosen to opt out of the test. Observation 4, impact. This is from Smerrick in 2017. Government compels, it forces, it mandates. Laws are generally binary. You are in compliance or you are not. You are eligible or you are not. There is a cost to be paid when you have a single democratically determined answer, especially when it comes from the federal government. It means that everyone in the majority is not in the majority is lost. It means they don't get to live the way they want in a particular sphere of life. And importantly, the more government decisions that are made, the more spheres where more people don't get their way. Obviously, people don't like to lose a policy debate and live with a rule that they didn't want. You can get frustration and alienation. At worst, I don't know how much of that we missed, but you can get frustration and alienation. At worst, we'll end up with resistance and rebellion. Recall that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called the riot the language of the unheard. People act out when their power has been taken away. So basically what that DA was saying is that if we give the power back to the federal government, it's going to make people really mad and it's going to cause a lot of riots in the streets. And I can't see how much time I have left. Okay, I'm still at 7 minutes, so I'm going to try to run the quick against on steroids DA. So let me go to that real quick. Okay, so the way that things are going, the Democrats are actually going to win the election, but if we pass this affirmative, a lot of people are going to like it, like the ASET and CX, and this is going to allow the midterm elections to be controlled by Republicans, and then they're going to pass a bunch of tax cuts that will essentially cause a Kansas on steroids situation. So, observation 1, uniqueness. Trump's low approval rating will let the Democrats win the House majority in 2018. Lambrecht of 25, or 2017. There's no House that is, okay, I'm out of time, so I'm just gonna, so in conclusion, Judge, we went over substantially, which said that they're only increasing by $4 billion, and they don't have where their money is coming from, so they're only increasing by $4 billion, which is 10%. I went over the fraud DA, saying they have no money for oversight, so this is going to cause fraud. And then I had the education reform backlash DA, which says that if we're switching between local and, or if we're switching between state and federal control of education, it's going to cause riots. So with that, I'm open for cross-examination and further points of clarification.